So in this session we're going to use lots of the different techniques that we've learned so far in our larger example, and what we're going to create is a simple text-based game. Now the advantage of doing something simple like a game is it does demonstrate all the things that we've already practiced, like creating a form, creating a response page, passing values backwards and forwards, and these are the kinds of things that are done in all the different kinds of web applications that there are out there. So it's a great way to actually demonstrate and reinforce the learning that's taken place so far. Now if you want to see the actual game in practice, you can have a look at that URL and you can play it. And the way that it works is that, this is a sort of game from 30 years ago, a very traditional text-based game. You have values for height, speed, fuel, and what you do is you enter a value for thrust, as if you were attempting to land a sort of moon lander. And the idea is that the craft is slowly descending towards the surface, and you have to keep track of the height and the speed so that you can sort of gently land the craft. And the way that you do that is by entering in thrust values and then clicking on OK. And what happens is you go round and round the game over and over again, clicking values in until you eventually land the craft. And what you're doing is you're altering the value of the height, and when the height is 0, obviously you've landed, and what you want is you want your speed to be 5 or less, otherwise you crash the craft. And either you succeed or you don't succeed in landing the craft, then you get some sort of message at the end. So the next series of slides basically build the game up slowly over time and sort of highlight the different ways that you can use forms, you can build error traps, you can call forms over and over again, you can make certain values read-only. Lots and lots of techniques that we use in web programming. So let's start off with a very simple version of the game, and in the first sort of iteration all we're going to do is have a form and a response page. So not too much going on here. Here's our initial form. Now you can see we've got 4 input fields, if you like: height, speed, fuel and thrust, and a button. So that's going to be a sort of standard web form. It's going to look like this. You can see I've got a height, speed, fuel and thrust input type equals text, and then there are some values associated with those input boxes: 300, 0, 200, 0, and we've got a button. And in this instance, if you look at the top line, you can see that we are going to have a response page called process game 1, and we're going to pass values through to that page using the post method. And I'll leave you to think about why we're choosing post rather than get at this particular point. So that's the form. What does the actual response page look like? Well, in this initial early version of the game, all we're going to do is just print the results out. That's all there is. So just grab the values and print them out, and the way that we do that is to use post. So we will have height, speed, fuel and thrust, all those values coming through in post, and to grab that we just simply have some PHP code at the top, and as with all my other examples, I'm trying to use the same name. So the name that's in the form is the name that we use in the post statement. So if you look at height, for example, you can see height is the name that we had on the form. It's the name that we place between the square brackets and the quotes, but I'm also making sure that I use that as the variable name just for consistency. And then lower down you can see we just have a bunch of print statements that print it out, and that's simply the first version of the game. And there's a link on the page which you can click on just to try that out. Just enter some values, you click OK, the game starts, and then it just prints the values out, and that's it.